All right. What's up, everybody? Again, it's your boy Skip down in the SIP back again. And I told y'all I was gonna do some different type of content. And so here we go. Today we got my DP man, Jeremy Johnson, man. He raised me in that land when I was in that land. So shout out to him, man. We're gonna let him introduce himself. And we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. So, Jeremy, if you don't mind, just tell us a little about yourself, what you do and this and that, what kind of relationship status you're in and your age and all that kind of good stuff like that, if you don't mind.
All right, no problem. Like you said, my name is Jeremy Johnson. I'm 37, born and raised in Vicksburg, Mississippi. Went to school at Mississippi State where I met Skip, won't call him by his first name. Graduated in 2008 with a degree, chemical engineering, moved down to Baton Rouge, been here ever since. Right now I work in a chemical plant as a production superintendent, doing all that good stuff. I am married. We will be 11 years married in March 26th. Yeah. And we have three kids, 9-year-old twins, and a 5-year-old, soon to be 6 in January. So,
Jeremy, you've been married 11 years, dude.
Man, 11 years, man.
God.
It goes by fast a lot of times and slow sometimes.
I feel you. Well, as y'all hear, Jeremy, he's been married 11 years, and I'm gonna be real. In today's time, that's you a vet. You're a true vet in the game. He got 3 kids, so he would probably be what we consider the American, all-American family. He married, he got 3 kids, he got a good job, everything, good family structure. What we would say a good family structure is on paper, okay? And so before we get into the questions, I just want to tell everybody what the purpose of this is. It's just for average, not saying our brother here is average or the brothers that we'll be talking to are average guys, but just everyday people, man, not people that's celebrities or athletes or have high status or these rich, well-off people that, it's just people that's really in it, whether they in relationships or not in relationships. Like I said, we're gonna talk to all kinds of men, but we just want men to be open about what's going on, just talk about some of their experiences, what they see and what they have done out here, okay? So he's already told us about himself, and so we know our brother Jeremy is married, and so that's been a big hot topic socially about marriage and should we get married and all this kind of stuff like that. But before we get into that, Jeremy, if you don't mind, just tell me a little about your family structure growing up. What kind of home was you raised in and your experiences when you was young?
Yeah, so growing up, my dad wasn't around, so that relationship with him was very up and down. He'd come in, he'd leave. So my relationship with my biological father it wasn't much. So my mom did a lot of the raising. I grew up with a stepfather, so he was in the house. He was a good role model. Nothing bad to say about him. He did the job he needed to do. When I was in around 7th or 8th grade, they got a divorce. So for a few years, it was just me, my mom, and my youngest sister. My oldest sister had moved out by this time. And then right around the time I got ready to come to Mississippi State, I think 2003, she remarried. So that relationship was going on while I was at college. So for the most part, growing up, what I saw in marriage was it was different. I saw my mom and my stepdad, that was it was a decent relationship for what I saw growing up. But there was that part of me that was like, hey, why isn't my biological dad in the picture? What, honestly, it was like, what's wrong with me? Why is he not trying to have this relationship with me? But as I grew, I learned that, man, that wasn't about me. And so, you know, I just had to learn, you know, translating to how I became, or in my married life, I just had to learn how to become a married man. And, you know, a lot of those stumbling blocks I'm still stumbling over right now. So it's a real touch and go day-to-day experience. But, you know, I try to rely on life lessons that I have gone through and things that people have told me about. I'm slowly learning to listen to people's advice and not experience some of the same mistakes they try to keep me away from. But, you know, we all stumble and fall. So I still hit some of those landmines today.
Okay, all right. So they go into my next question. You kind of got into it, but how would you say those experiences, how did they mold your outlook about relationships, or you know, growing up, how you would be a father, and what kind of arrangement you would like for your kids and offspring to be?
Man, I think it really made me go overdrive in the other side of being there. You know, wanting to make sure my kids know that they got, you know, a father in the house. You know, some of those same ways I was brought up, I still, you know, work with them, you know, where, you know, discipline's a hot button subject nowadays. So discipline's one thing, you know, I'm still working through. But that was my big thing, was for them to know that, you know, daddy is here. You have a father here in the house, and regardless of what happens, I am here. So that was a big overcompensation that I lean heavily into even today.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it's important for fathers to be in the home with their children?
I think it's important for people to do what's best for them. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm not gonna say it's a one size fits all. The father and the mother need to be together, mm-hmm. but I do think the father needs to be in their children's life, and however that, you know, shows itself in that mother-father relationship, you know, that needs to be worked out. But yeah, if you're a father, you need to do whatever you can to be in your children's lives. You know, and just making sure that you're there, you're present, so, you know, they don't grow up and always wonder, well, what did I do to keep my father, you know, away from me, and what did he not like about me?
Okay. So did you, when it came to relationships, did you know at a young age that you wanted to be married, or is this something that you kind of acquired taste as you got older?
Man, it was up and down, man. There were periods when I was like, yes, I definitely want to be married. Mm-hmm. There were periods when I was like, that is the furthest thing from my mind. You know, I think it almost was what area in my life I was in. You know, I think as I was leaving high school, going to college, it was like, no, I'm not thinking about marriage. I'm getting ready to go off college, be by myself. Mm-hmm. Then there was a period of time when I was in college, and it was like, man, I'm ready to settle down and find one. And then I graduated, and then it was like, well, I don't really know what I want to do. Mm-hmm. And then one day I met my now wife. And you know, honestly, at our first date, she'll never let me live this down. She asked me, I don't remember her asking me, but she said she asked me, do I want to be married? And I said, no. And that almost ended everything right there. But, you know, it varied. Some days I wanted to be married. Some days I didn't want to be married. So.
Okay. All right. So you said, she said the first time she asked you this on the first date, and you said no. You said you don't remember saying it. But I don't know, it might have slipped, Jeremy. It might have slipped. I
probably said no. I was coming out of a relationship, so I was like, I'm new in the professional world. I got a little bit of money. I probably said no. Yeah, okay. Don't tell I said that.
No, we not. So what would you say made you kind of change your mind? Or what made her, I guess, become the person that you decide to marry?
Right. So we went on the first date, and afterwards we really didn't talk that much for a few months. And then we kind of reconnected. We started talking again, started hanging out a little bit more. And then it honestly just got to a point, I can't even tell you when it happened, but it just got to this point where I was like, man, I don't want to live without her. I don't want to be with nobody else. I don't want to, like they say, I don't want to be in these streets. I don't want to be doing all this stuff. And it was like, every thought that I had of not wanting to be married, it's gone. And now I want to be with her. And it was at that point I, started looking for a ring, started going down that whole process of making it official.
Would you say that did she present herself any differently, or did you see anything different within her, or something that made her stand out the previous relationships that you might have been in?
Yes and no. She was definitely one of a kind. When I was with her, it was like I'm with her. She's unlike anybody else I've ever been with. But I don't think that she was purposefully just doing things that were different. Mm-hmm. I think it was just when we were hanging out and, talking about life, talking about what we wanted to do, talking about, where we saw ourselves in 5 or 10 years. It was like, man, I want you to be in the picture with me. So, I don't think there was any kind of manipulation or anything. Mm-hmm. There was definitely she knew that she wanted to be married, and that was definitely stated, but it was never a, look, you gotta marry me in X amount of time. It was just, look, this is where I want to be. And if you don't see this in your future, don't waste my time. Mm-hmm. And so I slowly came to that realization.
Yeah, so she explicitly expressed this to you.
Oh yeah.
I tell people, with Brittany, probably after about I'll say a good month, maybe 2 months, she did, she was just like, hey, is this like a for real relationship, or we just cool and this and that? And Brittany was like really the first person to just kind of ask me that. But I will say, right. She was already further along than most people after I got out of college. But mm-hmm. again, she was the first person to just explicitly right. ask that, and that kind of caught my attention.
Now I will say this too, in relationships, I my advice to people is you don't have to necessarily say, I want to be married in 6 months, I want to be married in a year, but just know what you want and express that. If you know you want to be married, tell that person, look, we dating, we hanging out, we kicking it. Look, I want to be married. If you don't see that, let's not waste each other's time. We got to learn to be upfront and intentional in our communication. And I think that's where a lot of people get lost. They don't say what they truly want. They think the person's going to pick it up as they go along.
Why do you think that is, brother? I really think that's especially true with young people. You see all the time, like on social media, how it's like promoted, not to respond back to people immediately, like it's some kind of game or something like that. Right. And so, why do you think that's the case?
I mean, I think a lot of times people want to get in this trap of, not coming across as being desperate or thirsty, what young people like to say now. If I tell you what I want, that doesn't necessarily mean I want you to become that. I'm just letting you know what my expectations are. If you feel like that's what you want to be, where you want to go, then hey, we click. If not, cool, let's keep it moving. Mm-hmm. So people don't want to seem desperate, and then they don't want to turn people away. Everybody always talks about there's no good men, there's no good women out there. And so when people find somebody, it's almost like they hide the things that they feel might scare a person off. And again, communication, being real, being upfront. If I tell you something I like, don't like, want, don't want, now you have the opportunity to say, you know what? I respect that, and I'm either going to give that to you or I'm not going to give that to you. And now we both have the opportunity to say, well, look, we don't need to continue this any further, or let's see where it goes. But people get so caught up in not wanting to lose somebody, not wanting to be lonely, that they just kind of hide what they really want and how they really feel in hopes that it's just going to keep that person with them.
All right then. Did you have any anxieties or hesitations leading up to the time that you got married? Thinking, maybe I might not be fit, or something like that.
In terms of me asking her to marry me, not at all.
Mm-hmm.
I knew what I wanted, and when I made that decision, it was like, yep, let's do it. And I set those wheels in motion. Once we actually got married, and we were in that part of our relationship,
Mm-hmm.
man, you talking about inadequacies. It's like, am I doing the right thing? Am I saying the right thing? Are we really supposed to disagree this? My wife likes to call them heated fellowships. Are we really supposed to have these many heated fellowships? It's a lot of times, we sitting there like, especially early on, it's like, man, that first year is supposed to be great. And we having these conversations, and you start to wonder, did I make the right decision? Is this really what it's going to be forever? But it took getting through those periods and those trials to kind of realize that, it's more normal than people make it out to be. And, if you start talking to more married people, you understand that you're not the only one who's going through those things and having those type problems. So it took us getting to that point to realize that it's okay to feel like you're inadequate, but it's also better to talk through them and understand where that's coming from and how to make yourself better.
Man, you said a word with that first year, everybody, oh, that's your honeymoon phase and stuff like that. It was like almost, for me, everything was good. Then once I did, it was like, oh shit, I really did this. And it was like, oh God. And like, you get hit with every decision you gotta involve too. It's no more living by yourself.
Yes.
It's just a lot,
yes,
all at one time. And I don't think people really realize it's almost like, I remember the time when I was in that land, when you was leaving me in that land. The people say, no matter what somebody tell you beforehand, nothing can prepare you for actually being in that land. And I liken it to the same thing. You can get told all kinds of stuff, but until you live in that land,
until you experience it, man,
until you live in that land. And it is hard. You learn a lot about yourself and about your spouse, stuff that you never knew. So you always on a continuous journey, I think. You well into your journey past me. But it's been 5 years for me, and man, we still learn stuff each and every day. And so,
man, you still learning stuff. I can remember, we would have marriage groups at church, and it would be, me and Vinny, and I think this was before we hit 10 years. So we less than 10 years, and we sitting at, these marriage meetings, get-togethers with people who've been married 50, 60 years, and they talking, and I'm like, y'all still dealing with the wait, that don't stop? And they like, no, it don't stop. It's a process, and at each season of your life, you change, your partner changes, you got to relearn each other, y'all got to recalibrate. What they also don't tell you is you start having some of the same arguments over and over and over, and it's not because you want to, but just because y'all, you got to learn to communicate. You got to learn to really talk through that stuff and not just do that surface level communication thinking you solved it, and then 3 months later y'all fighting about the same thing. So it definitely is a process. I want to tell you it gets easier, but you just got to stick with it and persevere, man.
My next question was gonna be, let me ask it like this. I ask it in a general sense. Do you think men are 100% open and vulnerable in their relationships?
No.
No. Why is that? Why you?
Man, because we, generally speaking, men are conditioned to be tough and hard and non-emotional. And we're just taught to be these kind of stoic creatures. And so when you think about being vulnerable, you got to remove all of that armor. You got to remove all of that stuff that not necessarily makes you tough, but what you believe makes you tough. And no, men in general have a very hard time of being vulnerable because we don't want to seem weak. We don't want to, we don't want stuff to be used against us. And a lot of times we feel like if I truly let myself go and I tell somebody everything, then they're going to use it against me and they're going to hurt me. And I don't want to be hurt. So instead of being hurt, I'm going to keep this wall up. I'm going to be tough. And we just don't do it.
So since we understand that, in marriages, you have to be open. You might not be 100%. We strive for that. You surely want that out of your partner, but we just being honest. Right. I'm sure nobody's 100% open. It might be some people, but that's why I'm asking this question to see how people feel about that. Mm-hmm. So how do you build that rapport with your significant other? How do you, grow your emotional intelligence with them and learn how to communicate? What's some ways that you did that in your
right? Well, number one, you gotta be honest with yourself. You can't go around and try to be vulnerable to somebody else when you truly haven't realized who you are yourself, what your true issues are, and how you need to combat those. And whether that's talking with somebody in therapy or however you choose to deal with those things, you got to figure out what's going on with yourself. The second thing is you just got to talk to your partner. Y'all gonna have difficult conversations. You gonna say some things that maybe not intentionally are meant to hurt them, but it's gonna hurt them. They're gonna say some things to you that, again, may not be intentional, but it's gonna hurt you, just because we don't like hearing negative things about ourselves. And so when somebody says something, it's not, hey, you said that to hurt me. It's, no, I said that because this is how I feel. And you gotta learn to accept that a person's feelings isn't really contingent upon how you tried to say things, how your tone came across, or what words you chose. They're feeling the way they're feeling. So, you got to have those conversations. You got to listen, and then you got to act. When your partner tells you something, but believe them. Number one, it's not your place to have your partner say something and you like, well, this is what they said, but this is what they really meant. No, believe what they tell you, and then you got to act on that. So if my wife comes and she tells me, look, I really love when you buy me flowers, then okay, maybe I need to buy her flowers. Don't overanalyze it. Don't say, well, I'm gonna buy her flowers, and the first thing she gonna say is, you only bought them because I told you to. Well, even if that's the case, you got to make those steps forward in acting on what they tell you. And if you do that, you'll start moving in the right direction. That still don't mean you're not gonna have setbacks. Again, problems that you may never think you're gonna have in 5 or 10 years may show up, and y'all start having your heated fellowships again. So you just got to understand it's a process. Like you said, it's not going to be perfect. When our frat brother said today, perfection is an illusion. We keep trying to strive for perfection. We'll never get it. So we just have to keep progressing towards perfection and hope that we are making steps in the right direction.
That's great, man. That's great. I only have one more question. Okay.
Uh-oh. All right.
No, it's not bad. It's easy. That's the hard stuff. What advice would you give a young man that wants to be married in today's climate? Just what's some advice you would give him? Some suggestions? Any tips?
Man.
If you could talk to your younger self, what would you tell yourself?
Oh man. One of the things I just said, you are never going to be perfect. So don't even go into this thinking that you will be perfect. So understand you're gonna make mistakes. you gonna fall, your partner gonna fall, y'all gonna have disagreements. Some nights, y'all not gonna say, good night. She may just turn over and go to sleep. You may just turn over and go to sleep. So yeah, understand you're not gonna be perfect, and these things are gonna happen. But don't beat yourself up. As long as you are trying to be the best husband, the best father that you can be, I think that's gonna work wonders for you. Learn how to communicate and get past the surface level communication. Actually start talking about those deep things. Make yourself vulnerable to your spouse. Your home and your spouse should be the safest place and the safest person in the world to you. So you got to be able to share those things that you feel that you can't share with anybody else. Just me personally, one other thing I would tell my young self is, understand what sacrifice is. And that's not from the negative standpoint of, hey, be ready to just give up of your full self, but understanding that, again, when you two become one, you got to do what you got to do to make sure your wife and your kids are taken care of. The hope is that y'all are in a position where everything is okay and y'all never have to want for everything or ever have to want for anything, but there may become times when you got to make a tough decision. And so, the way I have approached my marriage is, hey, I'd rather go without so everybody else can go with. So, understand that sacrifice is sometimes needed. And then outside of that, man, it's find a good group of people who are like-minded and talk to them, man. Some of my darkest times are helped when I know that I can call people who are going to listen to me, who are going to listen to my problems, and who are going to tell me the truth. And sometimes that truth may be, well, yeah, Jeremy, you make a good point. And sometimes that truth may be, Jeremy, you stupid. Jeremy, you messed up. Jeremy, nah, you need to fix it. So you got to surround yourself with people like that, people who are married, who have a good foundation. My wife and I, we're real religious. So, find people who are grounded in that foundation that you're grounded in. So we find people who are deeply rooted in the church. So, we can get that spiritual advice, but we can also get that practical advice. I'm not going to sit here and say that the Bible isn't a good place to help you solve a lot of your issues, but sometimes you need to hear just some good advice, and that advice may not come in the form of a scripture. Again, it may come in the form of, Jeremy, you stupid. Jeremy, talk to your wife. Jeremy, fix it. So, those are some of the things that I would tell my younger self as I got ready to go down this marriage road.
All right, then, brother, you killed it, man. You did a good job.
Going off what I know, man. It's going off what I know.
Well, that's all we can do, Doc. That's all we can do. I want to thank you, man, for coming on the show and just talking about your experiences. Hopefully somebody will hear this and, you might change somebody's life, man. I think I'm going to talk to that girl. I'm going to marry that girl now because Brother Jeremy told me to be a good leader. A good father to my kids.
Come a long way from spring 06, huh?
In that land. Bro, you got any shout outs or anything like that? I know you said you are religious, you a pastor, a social pastor, right?
I'm a minister.
Oh,
you
okay.
trying to give me a church. No, so quick shout outs. Definitely give a shout out to my beautiful, lovely wife, Vignetta Johnson. My church, Belfair Church, pastored by John D. Bennett. If you're ever looking for somewhere to worship, we in Baton Rouge, but we stream every Sunday, 8 and 10. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Belfair Church. I think that's all. Shout out to the good bros, A58.
Good bros, all right. Yes, sir. All right, Jeremy. Well, I appreciate you, big dog. Thank you, man.
No problem, man.
All right.